Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. It is David Nguyen, your Sophos product manager here at Bluechip Infotech. It is lovely to see each and every single one of you here today. Oh, we've got a little bit of a full room. I'm fantastic. Thank you for spending your Friday with us, by the way. I'd like to just give you a friendly PSA. It is August. Okay, so I don't know where the year has gone for you, but for me, it has absolutely disappeared, right? And there's about what, less than 5 months or something until Christmas. Okay, and you're gonna see the shopping centers put up their Christmas presents, Christmas decorations and lights and all that kind of stuff really soon. Okay, so we're heading towards that season already. But so yep, let that sink in. Happy Friday once again. And today I've got an esteemed special guest with me, and he's presented with us quite a few times. And every single time I'm even more impressed. Mr. Aaron Jacobs, welcome to the webinar land with me. It's good to see you.
Welcome. Thank you, mate. Thank you. It's always you always give great intros, mate. So thank you very much. I love being here with everyone. Keen to get
Nice.
started.
Fantastic. We'll give it 5 minutes, and we'll throw around some banter just before, so people can join the room as they're steadily joining. So welcome to everyone who's steadily joining. I'd like to do a little bit of housekeeping in terms of that question panel. I know that you can see it, guys. That question panel, please type whatever you want. It is we get it live, okay? We get it live, and we'd love to be able to hear from you, especially because there's going to be some latest cybersecurity news that I like to share, as always, inside of my webinars when we come up. All right, and this is just banter. This is banter. So let me know any commentary you want, Aaron, or the audience. You're welcome to let me know. But continuing from the last webinar I had, where we spoke about Ticketmaster. Right, there was a hack, and it is crazy to see. All right, that the Commissioner of Canada, all right, that is going to be investigating, right, a filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, because there's even more ongoings inside of the case. It's often the case that we see that an event happens, right, a cybersecurity attack or some type of exposure, right, and then we just hear about it months after we start hearing the damages, seeing more news come up and more investigations. So it's just it keeps on coming, guys. It keeps on coming. But that was a continuation from the last time, Ticketmaster. Okay, and ransomware has also interrupted the blood supply of OneBlood. Okay, this is all just snippets, highlights from the Wall Street Journal, which I'm subscribed to. But OneBlood, a non-profit, okay, not for profit, has been ransomwared. Right, their tech systems are offline, and they were forced to go into manual mode. They supply blood to over 250 hospitals inside of the southeastern US. Okay, so that's pretty terrible. It's not just big corporate companies, big wallets. It's also not for profits as well. Okay, so everyone's out there, and what is it? Able on vulnerable is the right word. Sorry guys, I'm losing my mind here, but crazy to see that. So in an effort to further manage the blood supply, they've asked the 250 hospitals to go into critical blood shortage mode protocols to remain in that status, so that they can make sure to recover from that. But yeah, heaps still going on, guys, and it's massive organizations. But there's crazier news as well. The Delta CEO, Delta Airlines, all right, with the CrowdStrike outage that just happened recently. Everyone, of course, knows about it. They have reported costs of up to $500 million in losses, and they are planning. There's nothing crazy yet, or no commentary, but they're planning to sue CrowdStrike and Microsoft. They're telling them to prepare for litigation after thousands of cancelled flights over the several days in July that they were done, and apparently that they had no choice but to recover its losses via this lawsuit, because Delta was heavily exposed to Microsoft and CrowdStrike, with over 40,000 servers having to be manually reset. So massive. They hired the famed lawyer David Boies. I think he was in another litigation with Microsoft previously. I don't know if he won or not, but this is going to set a big precedent, guys. If this goes through, and they're planning to, of course, defend it with everything they've got, CrowdStrike. But if this goes through, we don't know what it's going to look like for the future of other companies who are trying to regain their losses from this kind of outage as well. So it's big news, right? We don't know what's going to happen. If you're a shareholder, I feel sorry for you. I'm pretty sure that the shares were down about 32% in pre-market. On that night, I was watching it myself. So kind of huge, right? but just kind of sets up the expectation in the future. And already, CrowdStrike shareholders themselves have filed a lawsuit. So kind of massive, kind of massive. Of course, CrowdStrike said the suit is without merit, and they will vigorously defend itself as well. So yeah, it's we're going to be hearing more and more news and damages and all that as they come. You know, where with end users aren't happy. Yeah,
Not
that's
just
what happens.
not just kind of massive, David. It's the biggest global IT outage of all time, officially.
Oh wow! Officially. Oh my god.
9.5 million machines at once. So yeah, oh sorry, 8.5, just under 9. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how CrowdStrike's gonna. See, yeah, we're in this recent period, so we keep coming up with the question: how is CrowdStrike gonna up from like you? We're not sure at the end of the day because other outages from other vendors and IT companies have happened in the past, but to a smaller scale. So as the biggest one, you know, this is going to be kind of concerning in the future. Yeah, but that's just some latest cybersecurity news, guys. You know, we're on about the 6-minute mark now, so for you know, share a little bit of that. Let's get into the introductions, and we have now what looks to be like a more full room. So thank you everyone for joining once again. It is Happy Friday and it is lunchtime crunch time about to come up. We're going to make sure that you can learn as much as humanly possible, right, inside of this time frame. Now, I love Aaron for being a person who, you know, spills all the beans and doesn't have any type of marketing fluff, and myself, I'm the same. Okay, so listen in. You are not going to be disappointed with the content we have, and I'm not just saying that for, you know, the sake of saying that. It's because we have removed everything that could potentially waste your time, and everything here is going to be stuff that's relevant and useful to you guys as an MSP inside the cybersecurity space. I'll be introducing everyone in the beginning, well, rather I already have introduced, but then Aaron will be going through 6 of us MDR, XDR versus MDR, all the acronyms, and seeing what is exactly the difference in that space. Are you using XDR properly? Because in my eyes, right, I don't think anybody is, but he will explain that, and you can be the judge for yourselves and what it looks like with MDR. I'll get started. I'll do the how to get started, you know, all the licensing FAQ and the basics when it comes down to actually costings and what the licenses look like and the service tiers and stuff. And I'll show you a really eye-opening price list demo, right? Because this is aimed at most MSPs inside this audience are already on the MSP Flex program. So hello and welcome back. And then we'll be doing some prizes at the very end with Kahoot. Okay, we've got some awesome Logitech prizes, MX Master keyboards, and some cool presenter remotes to give away. Okay, so listen in and you could learn something. But let's get started. Without further ado, I will hand it over to you, Aaron, in order to get this up and running, man, if you want to keep sharing your screen.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's share that. Show screen. I think that should be coming up now. Let me know, David, once you can see it.
Let's go.
Awesome. Happy days. Right, so everyone, yeah, look, thanks, David. So this topic's pretty passionate to me, guys. For those of you that know me, I work in incident response here at Sophos, all things MDR, all things incident response for non-MDR customers. I see huge amounts of people that use XDR or Intercept X, anything that's not MDR, even non-Sophos customers. And whenever there's drama, whenever there's damage, massive ransomware events, non-ransomware breaches, you name it, there was always signs, right? There's always signs that it was happening. There was signs that it could have been stopped. And the reality is that most people aren't using XDR properly, like David mentioned. And I don't want to see it happen. I don't want any resume creating events for anyone. Like, it's not something that I want to see happen. So this is really why I wanted to dig in here today. So look, I'm going to start with Intercept X, XDR, MDR. What's the difference, right? There's lots of acronyms, as you know. Intercept X, as we call CIXA, Central Intercept X. Advanced, we have XDR, we have MDR. I really want to break down the difference in a sort of a, I guess, human way, right? So for those of you that know the NIST framework, a lot of this aligns perfectly to that. So the first one is your protection. Intercept X Advanced. For lack of a better term, it's antivirus, right? It is the thing that through AI and ML, machine learning, predictive analytics and all the behavioral stuff that looks at something on your machine and says, that's bad, from a simple, is it bad or is it not scenario? And I'm gonna block that or I'm not gonna block that. That's what Intercept X Advanced does. So for using that out there, it's your antivirus tool, it's looking for malware, it's looking for viruses and saying, yes, no, all right, end of story. That's what we now call endpoint protection in the industry today, endpoint security, next gen AV. It's got a lot of different fancy marketing terms, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. That's your protection, XDR, hang on, sorry, we've gone one ahead. My machine decided to skip ahead on its own. XDR is the detection and response piece. So you will hear these terminologies thrown around, EDR, XDR, they're the same thing. And what that is it's detecting what's running on your machine that could be bad. So different to antivirus that says that's a bad file, that's not. This is behavior. This is legitimate things, legitimate tools on your machine running that are running in ways that are probably not okay. So I think PowerShell doing something odd, right? It doesn't need to be blocked, but maybe it's just calling stuff out from GitHub. That's legitimate. It's all legitimate activity, but it's kind of not normal at 2 a.m. from your accounts person. Stuff like that, right? So it's looking for the weird behavior, the anomalies, if you will, and it's creating cases for someone to investigate and respond. And that's the big piece. Someone. Who's the someone in your customers and your MSP if you're running XDR today, which I know a lot of you are? That someone is you. And if you're not doing that, then you're not using XDR properly. Finally, MDR. So that's the human piece. It's not different product. It's not different technology. MDR is just managed detection and response. It takes that XDR platform that can pull stuff from Microsoft 365, your endpoints, your firewalls, whatever, call out things that need to be looked at. MDR is the humans to look at it for you. So that's as simple as I can explain it for you. It's the SOC, right? So when you can't be doing this at 2 a.m., that's what MDR is there to do. So I mentioned the NIST cybersecurity framework, for those of you that know that. I'm not doing a compliance education piece here. David promised you we won't waste your time, but the idea here is, if you look around the rings at the end, identify, protect. I called that out. Protect is your antivirus. It's also like your MFA and your backups and your other stuff that you do to protect. Detect down the bottom, that's your EDR, XDR. So that's Sophos XDR. Respond is the human bit. So that's what you're meant to be doing for your customers. So that's what I'm calling out. That's what I want you all to think of at this point. If you are selling XDR, Sophos XDR, that means you are saying to customers, you're going to detect and respond to their threats. Now, are you using XDR properly? If you're already thinking, hang on, maybe I'm not, sweet, that's good. We're on the right path, because I want to show you a few examples of why you may not be. The first example is the largest breach in Australian history, which was Medibank. Now, funnily enough, and I literally see this 100% of the time when I'm dealing with an incident, that things don't get addressed. Funny enough, so did they. It's all here in this article. They missed EDR alerts before the data breach. And if we press in a little bit, you will see that it was alleged that the insurer had up to a 6-week window from when the EDR alerts were generated to when it became clear that the data had been stolen. Now, for the record, they're not a Sophos XDR customer, but they are using some kind of EDR platform. They had 6 weeks of alerts being called out to them that they either didn't look at, or they did, when they did, they didn't understand what they were saying, because that's really common. We either get a, hey, I didn't see it at all, maybe it was misconfigured, or simply they looked at it, they investigated and went false positive. That happens a lot. So moving on from that, I want to show you really what Sophos XDR is. And I want to call out a few little configuration things that you may or may not have set up. All right, so firstly, Sophos XDR. If you are using Sophos XDR today, and I'm showing you this on screen and you think, I've never seen that in my life, that's step one, that you're not using it correctly. This is the Threat Analysis Center. This is the dashboard. This is where all the cases and all the things that I'm about to show you come from. But this is where the cases are something that needs to be investigated and responded to. This is where it all happens. So if you license a customer for Sophos XDR, you are opening up this Threat Analysis Center and giving yourself all the fancy tools to use that our MDR people use. So step one, data lake uploads. Okay, what does that mean, Aaron? What are you talking to me about? I'll explain, I promise. The first step in XDR, it's in the documentation, is you have to turn on data lake uploads. What is that? What does that mean? All right, so XDR gives you two primary functions. It collects data off your endpoints, sucks it up to our cloud and stores it for 90 days. So it sucks up that data and it creates those cases for you to investigate. If you don't turn on uploads to us for privacy reasons, for example, or because you have the ability to exclude certain machines if there's any sensitive scenarios here, if you don't turn it on, then guess what? You're not going to be able to get cases and deal with it. That's the first thing. So that has to happen. So it's collecting the data, it's turning on, we can call out behavior and things in the middle of the night that you need to go and address. And then the second part of it, of the tool set, is the ability to go and investigate, and you can lock down machines and respond to it and so forth. But this is step one. I call it out because I see far too many customers running XDR that never turn this on in the first place. And it is step one in the documentation. Cool. Second thing, case notifications. So obviously when there is a case generated, so when there's something suspicious that you guys need to go and investigate, you need to be alerted about that. Now I wanted to call this out because there's a reason I'm calling this stuff out. It's because I see too many scenarios where this is all not turned on properly. So this is step two in the documentation. Go in, configure your email notifications, and when there's a case, decide where you want it to go to. When a new case is created, who do you want it to receive those alerts? So I'm calling this out so you can go and check this stuff in your own customer environments. Ideally, I would love it if you didn't bother and you just move these things to MDR so we do it for you, but we'll talk about that in a moment. David's going to show you as well why it's probably a really good idea to do that. So these are the first two things from a configuration perspective that I wanted everyone to be aware of. The next thing is your integrations. Now, with your integrations, you can tap in all kinds of third-party platforms into this machine. So we are calling out behavior from all of the products that you or your customers have. Now, there's heaps of integrations in there, and you can go into the marketplace, and some of them are included with the price, some of them are not, and so forth. You've got to buy out on packs. That's fine. But the ones that are free are the Microsoft integrations. So they're included with every license, right? So if you haven't turned these on, again, next step that you might not be using this thing properly, you turn on these integrations, we're going to call out compromised accounts and suspicious behavior, things like that in your Microsoft 365 ecosystem, which again, you need to go and action and investigate. Next one is the cases. So once you've done all that, you're going to get cases. And now this is a real case, and I've redacted the data out of it, so nothing's sort of confidential here. But this is an example of a Microsoft 365, attacker in the middle case when they've stolen session tokens and stuff. And this is the kind of thing you would be alerted about. And you would go in here and you would deal with what needs to be done and investigate and so forth. The detection screen, part of the case, this is the stuff you're going to be told about. So in this scenario, I'll zoom in for those that can't see it. In this scenario, we've had 2 detections for multiple operating systems, multiple stuff. And you'll see over here that we tell you exactly what's been observed and the response actions that you need to take. So things like get the user's logins, look at it, investigate it. So we guide you through this with the XDR platform. And this is the same for things on endpoints, Microsoft 365 firewalls, and so forth. Now, that feels like a lot of work. And I'll be honest, I'm one of the laziest people around. Like, I don't want to be doing that. And I would argue you probably don't want to be doing that either, especially at 2 in the morning when this stuff normally happens. So understand that you've got to make sure this thing's configured for every customer. You've got to make sure you're alerting, but then you have to make sure you have staff that will investigate. And most importantly, you have staff that know what they're looking at and know how to deal with these kinds of threats. And more importantly, know how to go and run queries on the data. And if you get an alert about a random process at 2 in the morning, like, do you have the ability, and you can all through the toolkit, to go and run queries on endpoints and see the previous processes running and know what to look for? It's hard. It's actually really, really hard. But it's not only hard, it's a lot of risk. And what I mean by that is, if you are selling Sophos XDR to your customers, what you are saying is that you will do this because they have a toolkit. They assume that threats are going to be detected and responded to. So you could be giving off this sense that you're doing this for customers because that's what they're paying for, but you're actually not. And that could be very risky for you. And it also, if you are selling any XDR, or like I'll use the terminology EDR, which is Sophos XDR, if you are selling this, so if you're doing that because you're ticking a box for a cyber insurance form, understand the risk you're putting in there as well. If your customers are ticking that box to their cyber insurance saying, yes, we have an EDR tool, and yes, it's being looked at, and you're not, where's that risk going to fall? Think about that for a moment. Like I said at the start, I don't want any resume generating events for any of you, and I wouldn't want any insurance company coming after you because you've said, or you've told your customers you're doing this, and then ultimately you're not. So ask yourself a handful of questions. Do you have the resources and time to review all of the detections in your or your customer's security product consoles 24/7? So just like what I showed you there, do you have the time and resources to do that for everyone? It's not just Sophos, it's 365, it's firewalls and so on. Could you and your team action threat hunts where necessary? So if something was called out, do you have the skill set to go and hunt around it? You know, is this real? Can I go back in time? What were the events leading up to this? Do you have that skill set? A lot of people don't, and it's fine because most IT people aren't cybersecurity experts. They're not meant to be. It's a different field. It's not a generalist IT thing. It's a very specific skill set, and generally those people are pretty expensive as well. And do you have an incident response plan in place to deal with a major breach or zero-day threat for you or your customers? So, for example, if the tool called out this behavior happening like Medibank for 6 weeks and it went ignored, do you have an incident response plan? If those things started going from like simple detections to much more significant, like very, very serious stuff, like your domain administrator at 2 in the morning is stealing data and doing this and that, you know, do you have a plan? Would you know what to do other than just pulling the cable out? Like what's next? Who needs to be notified? Should legal board members be engaged? Should cyber insurance be engaged? All of these things, there are thresholds of the cases and investigations where it tips the scales and then the next step has to happen off the plan. I know your customers' plans, a lot of them will probably be, I just call the MSP. That's not a plan, that's just part of a plan. So make sure that they're thinking about this as well as yourselves. All right, so with that, what does this thing actually look like with MDR, right? So I'm trying to show you that this is all the work that's required, you're doing it yourself. However, if you pick up MDR, what does it look like? Well, first things first, dashboards and reporting are handled for you. Remember the XDR platform that's a toolkit. If you want to report to your customers about what work you've been done and effort and so forth, this is all done for you here. So this is the MDR dashboard. It talks about your health scores. It talks about the analyst coverage. It talks about how many cases and threat hunts were ran. It talks about team effort timeline, how many cases by days, by weekends, and so forth. So it's all here for you. And we're making this easy in the coming months to generate, export, send to your clients to show, all of that. It's going to be a very simple thing for you to schedule and do. We have our weekly and monthly, the actual cybersecurity reports about what's going on. So these are more, I wouldn't say as high level as the dashboards. I would say they're a little bit more detailed with data. So think about the events pipeline, like how much stuff we've seen, what's gone into it, what's the times, the SLAs and the trends and things of that nature. So all of that is done for you as well. The threat hunting report. Now, I haven't even spoken much about threat hunting here, but threat hunting is a really critical piece of cybersecurity strategy. That's not responding to threats as they happen. That's looking at all that data for signs of something that your security product may not have called out or detected. So it's basically going back in time and looking at what was done, getting intelligence from various feeds around the world, government feeds and our own intelligence and so forth, and saying, right, we've seen that this new threat actor is using these techniques through, I don't know, Windows Notepad or PowerShell, whatever it is they're using, and we're hunting for that type of behavior. Again, these are all reports that you get with MDR. But more importantly, what's a case look like? What does it look like to you as the partner, as the MSP? That I showed you what it looks like and the work you have to do in XDR. What does it look like to you in MDR? Well, this is an example case. You get a very simple analysis. This is what was done. This is what happened. This is what was detected. And this is what we looked at. This is what we found. And these are the artifacts along the way. These are the recommendations. Verify this, verify that. Install MDR, block this, block that, so forth. Very simple instructions that any of your IT team can handle for a customer if you're passing this on to a customer. And then we have the technical details along with it. And this is all sent to you out as an email. Very simple action items that you can respond, ask questions, and I'll follow you up if it hasn't been done yet. So that's really, really important. That's how simple it becomes. Turning on those data lake and all that's done automatically with MDR because it has to be for the service to run. You don't have to worry about setting up notifications in each customer. Literally at the partner level, you just say, I want it all to come to me, done. So much easier. But what about an incident? I just spoke to you about a case. What about like a proper severe incident? Like we've stepped over that threshold and it's an active threat now. So this is an example of an incident. Now, you get a dedicated person. You can see you get the details on who to call. They will call you, of course. This is the email that follows up the phone call. But this is what you're getting. This was the threat details on how it started and what's happened. You'll see this in this scenario. We don't need to go into the details, but it was a SQL server event that's been compromised. And you'll see we're continuing to investigate this active incident. We'll provide an Excel document with additional prioritized recommendations and collections. So you get P1 recommendations, you'll get additional recommendations. And this turns into a full stand-up one-on-one engagement where everything is documented, everything is traced back, and a full report of what has gone on comes at the end of that. So it's a very good from a compliance perspective. You can hand it to suppliers, to the board, whatever. And you'll see here, this is an example report, like a executive summary and a timeline. And this is a 15-page report. Obviously, I can't fit on a single slide. So it's, it goes into a lot of detail, and that's the kind of service that you're getting out of MDR. Now, so how can your MSP benefit from it? Like I'm talking about how it happens in an incident, in a case. But think about this, like building a security practice does not mean building a SOC. You don't have to pile in people. You don't have to buy XDR, pile in all the humans, figure out your processes. That's not what you need to do to build a proper security practice and something that you can take to your customers that you're very successful in reselling, very profitable in, and ultimately giving a better overall security posture and outcome for everyone. It can be a great escalation point for your technical staff. So for example, you don't have to wait for MDR to come to you. If your team sees something that looks suspicious, simply email, call in, let them know what it is, and our team will investigate for you. So really good to think about in your MSP if you don't have that necessarily that security expertise internally, or even if you do, where do they then turn? And that's what this is great for. And of course, giving your sales team confidence in your security operations. So your sellers need to go out there and they want to be able to be comfortable in what they're selling. And if you're selling security services or secure managed service agreements, however you're positioning this, you want them to be really confident and not know it's one guy sitting in the corner who doesn't work on weekends. Like it's just that confidence that they can talk about the scale of what you're delivering to your customers. Now, that all probably sounds really expensive. I've shown you how much value there is, how much work it is for yourselves, and how much value there actually is in MDR. David's going to talk specifics at an individual pricing level, but I wanted to show you an example of an MSP, and we're thinking higher level at this point, right? We're thinking up at the top. We're saying, okay, I'm an average MSP with 500 endpoints, and they're running Sophos XDR across however many customers, right? Doesn't matter at this point, because you pay for this thing as an aggregate, you as the MSP. All right, so you're spending about $2,800 a month on your Sophos XDR licenses to do all that work that I've shown you, right? All that work, setting it up, investigating, dealing with it, 24/7 staffing it. It's going to cost you a lot more than $2,800 a month when you start putting people behind it. You could be spending around $3,650 a month on MDR Essentials licenses, and that will provide the exact same product, Sophos XDR, with 24/7 Global Security Operations Center doing all the work for them, threat hunting, handling the reporting, being an escalation point, all of that stuff that I just showed you, that is there. That's when you start to think of it this way, it's really starting to sound a lot more attractive, right? That's $835 a month more, or $10,000 a year to get a 24/7 global SOC, all right? So this is you bringing a whole stack of new human resources to your MSP that's going to be protecting you and your customers 24/7, doing all that extra stuff. That works out at about 7% the cost of a single security analyst. Now, in case it hasn't already come to you, fun fact, a single security analyst cannot run a 24/7 operation for you. It turns out, they've got to sleep. Sometimes they go to the toilet. Sometimes they actually have to train, have meetings, have weekends, things like that, holidays. So I guess I want you to think of this like at this high level and think, okay, as me, the MSP, it's absolutely no money at all to go from me doing all the work to someone else doing it for me and providing a much, much, much better service. So really, when you start to think about it, for that kind of money I was saying there, you get all of your detection and response handled for you off your endpoints, your servers, Microsoft 365, which is obviously a really focused point, like a lot of compromised accounts coming through 365. And that's all included in that price. If you're running Sophos firewalls, again, great. Now Sophos are watching all the alerts from that as well, and more, right? And if you want to, depending on what you've got in your customers' environments, we can tap all these other types of things, backup, Veeam, Acronis, all these other players. It all comes into that sort of model. So from a start, thinking down compliance, start thinking about, are you ingesting all of your logs, your security logs? Are you investigating, responding 24/7? Whatever the customer's requirements are, this is a tick box across it all, and no more work for you. So I think with that, Dave, I think I will hand back to you. I'll
100%,
stop.
Aaron.
But yeah, hopefully while you're bringing up your screen, hopefully everyone just, yeah. My big point here was to try to show you how much work it is and how much you can offload for a very minimal price. I would
No,
love to
100%,
talk
Aaron.
to
You
anyone
couldn't.
further about it. So
I couldn't have said it better myself, man. And I was actually quite excited to run this webinar, right? Because I've colloquially named it the "You're probably using XDR wrong," right? Webinar, right? Like and people don't like to get caught out. I get it, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to or believes that they want to have the best cybersecurity practice, right? At the end of the day, but if you are exposed to that risk, right? Those dramatic events that could happen that could make or break your business, right? It is always best to get right on top of the nitty gritty, which is the tools that you're using. Most likely, you're either understaffed, you don't have the time. No one has the time these days, right? Or you could be doing it so much better, right? You can expand and scale so much faster using other types of products that are literally just one step above. I think the most common scenario that I get these days, the partner calls me up and they're like, hey, I'm running an anti-malware, anti-ransomware protection, in this case, usually Central Intercept X Advanced, right? And I need the upgrade. I need the upgrade to that. There's got to be an upgrade path for my customers, right? And it's got to be XDR. This happened the other day. There was a call with another partner. I'll name him Harry. His name starts with H, but I'll name him Harry in this case. He's like, David, I need XDR. That's the next step, right? That's the next step. That's the thing that you charge more for, right? I'm like, yeah, 100%. But are you sure you know how to use the tools? I'm like, yeah. I'll get staffing to do it. I'll get the IT team to do it, or I'll get myself to do it. I can run that type of stuff, right? And I'm like, okay. Well, let's walk through the scenario, right? Harry, are you prepared in order to respond to all the alerts that come up for your? I think he had about 55 clients underneath himself, right? Just SMB kind of clients, right? The 55 clients underneath himself. How many IT team people do you have? And I'm like, oh yeah, I've got a Joseph. He's in the corner over there, right? And I was like, how many hours is he doing other things? He was like, oh no, he's flat out. He's absolute flat out. And I'm of course going out there selling, right? They're like a 2 or 3 man band or something like that. And I explained to him all of these tools. I said, hey, in order to detect and properly respond to each and every single one of them, you need to have these cases open. You need to expand and explore these cases. Do you understand the alerts that are coming up? And once he finally saw it all, after about 10 minutes, he was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm not a cybersecurity expert. We're quite honest with each other. Are you going to be able to take on the risk of managing all of that, right? When you have the ability to, right? But being able to respond actively to incidents if someone calls up, because you're going to be the person at the end of the day that they're going to call. The clients are going to call you, okay? And if you're not able to respond to that, that is a big hole. There's a big hole right there inside of the business, okay? And then Harry, of course, converted to MDR. This isn't just a success story that I'm bringing up, okay? Because I'm going to show you specifically number crunch down to the single license unit, why it's so attractive, okay? So bear with me. But let's just say how to get started, right? This is just the how to get started part, because everyone's like, oh, if you upgrade to MDR, there's probably way too much to it. No, there isn't, right? There really isn't at the end of the day. You're already licensing XDR via users, right? So it's the same equation. It's how many users do you have? How many servers do you have? That's literally it. Because like XDR and Intercept X Advanced, okay, you have users and you have servers. They're licensed exactly the same way, right? You choose your flavor, which we'll walk through MDR Essentials and MDR Complete in a little bit. There's a whole bunch of add-ons you can add. You can bring on, okay, such as data retention up to a year, because compliance needs that sometimes. Cyber insurance, kind of needs that sometimes. You need to meet some kind of compliance. You can definitely do that as an add-on. But the crux of it is literally just here. How many users and how many servers. So if you've already got that down pat, okay, you can switch people over to MDR basically immediately on the MSP Flex platform. There's literally a button that says change license. And if anyone's rolled out stuff on the MSP platform, you already know how easy it is, okay? It's instant and it's already deployed. You literally just switch them over and they're instantly over, okay? So
It's a really good point. Sorry to cut you off, David. That's an amazing point. Like you guys, like like if you've got XDR deployed, as David said, this is run the licensing wizard and click MDR, and you have a SOC this afternoon. Like it is, and they'll be doing health checks for you in case anyone wonders. You know, they'll check your settings and stuff. Like it will be on this afternoon, 24/7 coverage.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
Sorry, David, you just said it and it
No,
really resonated
100%.
for me. So
Yeah, look, I'll show you guys as well inside of the partner dashboard demo how easy it is in order to change licenses. But if anyone has rolled it out, it is just the change license button. There's one. It's on the manage customer usage on the left-hand side. But we'll finish this slide first. All right. And with that, you already have all of the integrations that can go into XDR. Okay, so all the software stuff is already there. But like Aaron showed you in that slide before, you do have a whole bunch of third-party integrations that will ingest the logs and telemetry. Sorry, the MDR team will ingest the logs and telemetry and be able to work with that to provide that 24/7 service as well, right? So it is a pretty powerful statement to be able to, and I'll go back a few slides, literally, be able to bring all of these vendors, if they're using it, because, you know, cybersecurity infrastructure these days is completely varied, and we get that, in order to be able to take on, rather implement an MDR service on top of all of this, right? That versatile. Your cybersecurity practice could be that versatile. Okay, I won't walk through the specifics.
David, just there, just because we've got a lot of people here, and it comes up. Like, I'm going to call it out on this screen, right? You bring on new clients, they might have other stuff. This can be a pathway to then you effectively getting them on your existing stack. But also as well, the other way around, I completely appreciate that a lot of people want to go and use Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Like, you'll be having those conversations, I'm sure of it. This is fine. You can absolutely use Defender for Endpoint in this top. Yeah. So the productivity, that's checking that, but then that's included in the price as well. So nothing changes there. If they go and end up using Defender for Endpoint, the SOC and everything I've spoken about, it's exactly the same. You're just not running the Sophos XDR protection and detection. You're running our agent next to Defender for Endpoint, and our agent is this tiny little sensor in that model. So it works really, really well, guys. And yeah, to David's point, it's very powerful. If you are talking to a prospect, like David said, right, you just ask them servers, users, and a few questions about what technology they're using, and this is already done. You can lay a SOC on top of them easy.
Yeah, massive statement in order to go up to a client and say that, hey, you're running all of this. It could be any variation of this, right? And we can put a SOC on top of it. So instead of taking the whole, let's rip and replace your entire endpoint solution, it could be CrowdStrike, it could be SentinelOne, it could be Trend Micro, whatever. With XDR, instead overlay the 24/7 service, MDR, right on top of that, right? You don't have to rip and replace, okay? I find that to be an extremely versatile messaging when you meet with prospect clients like Aaron just said. But, you know, those are the third-party integrations on the right-hand side there, and I'll quickly just point them out, okay? But we do have firewall, email, network, identity cloud, it's all there. There, okay? And Microsoft 365, the most used productivity suite inside of the entire world, being able to integrate for free, right? Free of charge, pretty powerful, right? But let's go into the nitty gritty. Let's go into the licensing specifics before I number crunch in front of you, okay? Because it's pretty powerful, right? MDR Essentials, right? And I'll be showing this on the screen really quick. Still include, there's MDR Essentials and MDR Complete. There's two flavors, okay? The most popular one is MDR Complete, and I'll show you why, right? But MDR Essentials is still accessible, okay? Or MDR for Microsoft Defender specifically, if anyone's going through that. Still 24/7, expert-led threat monitoring response. I know I'm walking you through the slide here, but it's really relevant. Still weekly and monthly reporting on an automatic basis. Still get your account health checks. Expert-led threat hunting is still there, and you still get direct call-in. So if something does go wrong, you want to be, you know, a customer calls you up and they say, hey, I want you to take care of this, right? You don't have to drop everything and start looking into their XDR sensor and spend 4 hours investigating the goddamn thing. You can bring one of your IT team to call up the MDR team and say, hey, please investigate this for me, and they will. Okay, but MDR Essentials, the main differentiator for a lot of partners I speak to say that activist attacks are stopped and contained. Okay, so the riot police come towards the house where it's being attacked and whatnot, trap and contain and isolate that threat and say, hey, now you go clean up. Okay, a lot of the partners I speak to have a lot of services, right, that kind of go in and do that. So that's where they get paid. You know, that's that support tool. But that's where that stops. I do have a just question right here from BR. I'll just say your initials right now. We'll be able to see the recording of this webinar later. Of course, you'll be able to see a recording of this webinar later, and a whole bunch of videos out from me specifically on this topic. But if you want to run a separate session directly for your team, your sales team, in order for us to walk you through how powerful this is, more than welcome to do that too. Okay, we have an MDR introduction session over inside of our website. Okay, so we are happy to do that too. But I hope that answered that, BR. But onwards, ladies and gentlemen, MDR Complete. Okay, this is where it starts getting really amazing. Okay, the main differentiator right, between essentials and complete is that threats are fully eliminated. Okay, that's 0 to 100. Okay, that's end to end. Threats are completely eliminated. You get a case incident report direct to you with 15 pages of amazing, documentation about who, what, when, where, why, how, and recommendations of what to do next, so that you can be completely on top of it. You don't have to wake up at 9 a.m., see the email that a case has been resolved, breathe the sigh of relief, and then do more research. It's already there. It's inside your inbox. So you can call up your customer, do any of those annual cadence calls, all right, or your reviews, and say, hey, we saved your ass. Okay, your ass isn't on the firing line like Medibank or something. We've saved you. Okay, and you will have an incident response lead that will be able to answer any questions you might have as well, or explain it to you in that sort of case. And of course, our amazing breach protection warranty of up to $1 million. Okay, so if something actually does happen, which it's never been claimed before, sorry, it's never been successfully. What's
No
the word
claims.
for that? No claims.
No, there's been like a handful of claims, but they've always been it's not real. So yeah, no, we haven't had a claim on that. But yeah, Dave, just to reiterate to everyone that full scale incident response piece, because this is probably the most question I get. I want to highlight it. Dave already said it, but in essentials, threat response is there. Yes, we will absolutely detect and contain and respond to threats and deal with them in MDR essentials. That full scale incident response, if any of you have ever called on cyber insurance and they've brought in the digital forensics investigation response, incident response team, that's what that is. That's included in MDR complete. And for those of you that are wondering, MDR complete is the odd one out. What I mean by that is, if you compare this to any other MDR service, none of them include unlimited amounts of full-scale IR. MDR complete is the odd one. Essentials is much more like every other service out there. MDR complete is the sort of unique, weird one. So when I say weird in a good way, as in you are getting something that you very much don't and unusually get with an MDR service. So it's amazing the fact that it's all done. I've seen many examples where customers haven't had to bring in cyber insurance in a real life threat, because MDR complete, that incident response engagement kicked in, it was all dealt with, and through that very detailed investigation and report that I sort of highlighted to you, it was found that there was no data stolen. So therefore, they didn't need to claim on cyber insurance. They didn't need to go through a notifiable data breach. They didn't notification, all of that stuff. It's a fantastic position to be able to get this sort of investigation done and then say, okay, great, it's been done now. I don't have to go through the formal processes of notification to legal and so forth.
The biggest sigh of relief of all time, right? Kind of being
Yeah.
able to be assured that something did or did not happen, because I can guarantee you half the people inside of this industry, or at least half the people, probably don't know how to find that out when it comes down to the nitty gritty of it. But the last thing I'm going to show you guys before I start number crunching, guys, is the incident report, right? The 15-page giant ass document, which is all the value that you're going to be able to see just in itself. Can you see this, Aaron, on the screen? You can, right?
I can, yep.
Amazing.
I didn't realize you didn't sign up, so this is great.
No, it's all good. It's all here. I'll also show you the weekly and the monthly automated reporting, which is massive. You get that automatically, peacetime, glossy, beautiful reporting. But the incident report is my bloody favorite, right? The whole executive summary in non-technical details, down to the goddamn minute, right, about everything that happened in that case that the MDR team has investigated. Okay, this is a big, exciting demo version of it, right? But it's quite literally everything from detection all the way to the lateral movement, command and control, all the response actions that the MDR team took, right? Everything concerning that, the MITRE attack framework and how the MDR team responded to it, down to the execution of the threat, the credential access, how they discovered, etc., lateral movement, the impact of what happened. I'm just kind of speeding through it, guys, but I really want to show you my favorite part is the recommendations, right? When you wake up, right, and your IT team know that there's been an attack, it's been resolved, or something needs to happen, the recommendations are all here, right? All line by line of what to do. So it couldn't get easier than this in terms of just.
And the reality, everyone, is if there's a major incident like this, MDR team's calling you, like you're getting woken up, and most of these P1 recommendations, that's already happened, but this is the formal report at the end, so everyone can see what has and has not happened.
100%, including the threat impact, right?
Correct.
Literally, what they've done, indicators of compromise, etc. Okay, if anyone wants to see this, I'm going to send these documents as an example so you can show your clients, okay, during a scoping call or something like that, and say that, hey, if you need to meet criteria or some type of compliance, it's all here. And it couldn't get better than this, to be honest. In fact, it'll probably improve, but that's not the point. Let's crunch some numbers because now we've seen the two flavors of Essentials Complete and I've left you hanging for so long. It's whoops, went above there. We'll crunch the numbers, guys. I'm going to bring up the price list. This may look familiar to you because everyone here is on the MSP Flex program. Okay, if you're not, that's okay. All right, I'll be introducing it from a new point as well. Okay, but we had XDR. Okay, we had XDR that Aaron was speaking about before. All the tools for you to go ahead and threat hunt. Okay, all those tools that to do so. But in order to do so, you need time, you need people, you need etc. You need the knowledge, you need to be able to train them in order to do so. We're looking at $7.71 users per month. This is at band 1. Okay, this is just at band 1, the base tier. You're starting up, all right? So we'll go at a base level. $7.71, right, and charge to you guys as partners, XGST, for the sake of formality, But $7.71 is that XDR tool, right? To upgrade to an MDR Essentials, like we said, that 24/7, so 24/7, all right, detection and response piece, like we said, right, $8.40. Okay, I'm gonna let that sink in for you, okay? Because everyone says,
let's just call it out, David. Let's just call it out for everyone. It's not $8.40 more. It includes XDR, guys. So that's less than $1.
That's actually a really good point, man. So for less than $1 more, the MDR team will do the work for you on a 24/7 basis. All right. This is pretty much an eye opener every time I show some people this. Okay. The fact that for less than $1 more, you'll be able to have already XDR and Central Intercept X Advanced. Okay. It's already included. So don't worry about the $5.14 and the $7.71 for an extra less than $1. For less than $1 more, you'll be able to have that 24/7 service. Right. When people see this, right, when I show partners this in terms of a value add, they just upgrade their entire fleet immediately, right? Or at least the partners who are choosing to pay, the end users who are choosing to pay that much, because that offloads already the entire piece of, the entire support piece of 24/7 services, right? Right off them. That workload just right off their shoulders and onto the MDR team. Okay, but we'll move on because as a fascinating number as that is, the MDR complete service is not so much more either. Okay, so for $14.53, you now get MDR complete, which is that full detection and response, all the way down to the response, down, 0 to 100, completely resolving everything for you for $14.53. Everyone I ask says that, hey, is it like, $25, $30 per user per month or something like that? It's like half the cost, guys. Think about, all of the risk completely being taken off you, and for you to be able to go into market with a cybersecurity solution that can go 0 to 100 all the way 24/7 completely. All right. When I number crunch this in front of you guys, I hope it makes sense. All right. I hope it makes sense, because if you were to do all of your work for $7.71, right, pass it over to the MDR team for $8.40, right, no brainer, and then doing all the work completely for you, right? And you being able to go to market and protect as many users as you want, infinitely scalable, $14.53. Yeah. And all right, I'm going to give you one tidbit that I wasn't going to share because it's slightly dangerous. Okay. I know a few partners who are charging bucket tons more than this, because $14.50 for an MDR, in theory, 24/7 services, fully detection and response piece, okay, is in theory an expensive, extremely valuable service. Okay, and people are going to pay a lot for it. So you're paying this much, imagine how much you could make. I won't put a number to it, okay, but they include, the partner I'm thinking of right now, right, includes pen testing, includes vulnerability, management and all that kind of stuff. And they're charging upwards of like $200 a year. Okay, but put your own number.
I was going to say, David, I'll say I was charging way more than double what you're seeing on screen for these things. Yep. So,
yeah, but that was the punchline, guys. Look, this is the price list calculator that you all have access to as MSPs on this call. Okay, that's the punchline. $14.53, $8.40, $7.71. Okay, so see how you want to go for it in terms of upgrading. Okay, and we're more than welcome to show you how to upgrade, because it's the change license wizard. In fact, do I even have time? Do I have time? Do I have a minute to just quickly show you?
It's easy. I don't know if we have time, but it's so easy. They'll all know how to do it because they've already done it. So
yeah, reach out to the ANZ MSP team or myself even. I'll send you the guide. It's a single button. It's change license, okay? But we're gonna go to some fun stuff. I've given you so much, we've given you so much information, stuff like that. Let's go to some fun stuff. Let's go to some trivia, okay? And there's some awesome prizes to win, so I promised you it would also be fun. All right, I'm gonna launch the trivia right now. You join via Kahoot, everyone's played Kahoot before, which is a QR code. All right, I'm gonna load it up right now in front of you guys, and we're gonna win some prizes. Right, finish the lunchtime steady. We've got 10 minutes to go. It's a fast action, fast-paced Kahoot game. We've got to start this. Get out your phones and scan this QR code, or go to kahoot.it. Okay, here is.
Am I allowed to play, David? Am I allowed to play?
Yes, you are allowed to play, Aaron. You're allowed to play, but you don't win any prizes, man, because that would
man.
bring. Look, it's a very easy trivia, guys. I just want to have fun, give out some prizes, and make sure we all have a blast before our lunch times and win something on a Friday. But there are a few MDR questions in there if you've been listening. So yeah, get in here, guys. There's a full room today on the call, so I'm going to wait a quick minute to make sure that everyone has time to join. But either scan the QR code or go to kahoot.it with that game pin. Okay, with 1321407.
I've just realised, David, if I play this and I lose, that's not a good look, right?
No, don't worry, I'll beat you, man. Oh, you can lose on purpose. You can say that you lost on purpose, sure. Anyway, yeah, give it a few more minutes, guys. But I hope you guys have found this session useful, or especially at the end bit, either the beginning bit, any bit. Let us know your feedback inside of the comment section. We've already received a few little comments here from our audience, so I'm very, very thankful. Okay, but if you have any feedback, you're more than welcome to let us know, or ask us about XDR and MDR, or go to our partner session menu on the Bluechip website and just book in a session, right? Great presentation, loved it. Thank you, MS. Thanks, man. Love that you loved it. I'm very glad that the session was worth it for you. And I hope you win then. No, I'm kidding. I'm not biased. We're playing for money, so there's no warm-up. Just by the way, guys, there's no warm-up. It's just straight into it. There's about 7 questions, okay? We're going to go fast-paced. First, second, and third place win some Logitech prizes. I'm talking too much, Aaron, so just trying to fill the time. That's all.
That's right. What do we got? 19. That's
19 people.
19 in there. That means there's a few.
Well, we're going to give it.
Get in if you want.
We're going to give it 30 seconds. I'm going to give it 30 seconds. Twenty people in. Okay, look, we're going to get started, okay? Good luck to everyone. We're going to get started straight away, okay? XDR versus MDR webinar. I'll be reading the questions out. You'll be answering on the device that you have entered in. True or false? XDR is a tool for easier management of your firewalls, right? Real quick warm-up question. XDR is a tool for easier management of your firewalls. True or false? Come on, this one's really easy, guys. I hope everyone gets this one correct. Yes, it is false. It is not a tool for easier management of firewalls. Yes, come on, guys, listen up. I'm kidding. First, second, third place, we got Tony, Andrea, and AJ. Good job, guys. We got 6 more questions to go. What is MDR? MDR, what is it? Okay. Is it a 24/7 ticketing desk for remediation of level 1 support? Is it a fully managed 24/7 service? Cybersecurity insurance? Pen testing? Who knows? Good job, guys. It is a fully managed 24/7 service. There you go. Yeah, easy one to boot. Who do we have at the top? Tony, AJ, and Andrea. Good job, guys. Good job. Keep going. Keep moving forward so we can be on time. What are the biggest mistakes when using EDR or XDR technologies? The biggest mistake, is it inability to use the tools, running the wrong reporting, missing important add-ons, or missed alerts, inability to respond correctly? Good job, guys. It's 2 answers here: inability to use the tools and missed alerts and inability to respond. That could be the time, resources, scaling, etc. It doesn't matter, okay? But good job to everyone who picked 1 or 2, okay? Who's on the top of the leaderboard? Andrea, Tony, and AJ coming up strong. Good job, guys. Question 4, what is the main advantage of using MDR? The main advantage, okay? You can now sleep soundly at night. I'd never get to sleep soundly, but it'll be increased there if I do. You can now integrate with third-party vendors. Your cybersecurity insurance premiums will go lower, or you now have a fully managed incident response service 24/7. the main advantage, guys. Yes, fully managed incident response service. Good job for listening. And I love the fact that some people who really value their sleep, 3 people were like, yeah, I can really sleep well at night. That is true, but I think that, you know, being able to protect all your clients and your customers is definitely going to be on the top of the list there. Andrea, AJ, and Paul, good job, guys. All right, we have 5, 6, and 7 to go. There are 3 questions. What are the MDR service level? I spoke about this in the last part. I won't read this one out, okay, because I believe that my emphasis on certain words gives the answer away. So good, yes, it is MDR complete essentials. Good job, guys. That was an easy question. Thank you. And for everyone else who answered, you know, the red one, MDR intercept X and MDR XDR, yeah, that's kind of correct, but we're talking about MDR particularly, okay? Andre, AJ, and Paul, good job staying on top of the leaderboard. Wow, you guys are soaring. This is fantastic. First, second, and third place do get a prize. Multi-select, okay? What types of reports do you get with MDR? The types of reports that Aaron and I spoke about. The types of reports. And thank you, MW, for your comment. Love the session. I'm really glad you enjoyed it, man. Yes, you do get weekly and monthly and case incident reports. Weekly and monthly and case incident reports, guys. Automatically. Amazing. Fantastic. You don't have to go out and pull it out yourself. Andrea, AJ, and SLS has overtaken Paul. Holy crap. Okay, this is the tight one on second and third place. Oh, it's going to be tight.
Getting tight. I think Andrea's got me.
Last question. MDR is more cost effective in the long run. True or false? Come on, guys. It's an easy one. I made it so that we didn't have to be a massive, difficult punchline. It's true. It's true, guys. All right, let's find our podium winners. We got the podium for first, second, and third place. SLS. Good job, SLS.
Well done, SLS.
Okay. And sure you gave this one away. Andrea, good job, Andrea. Good job, guys. Good job. So AJ, you don't get a prize. It's going to go to the person who's at fourth, which is Paul.
Of course.
Okay?
Paul deserves it, mate. Paul deserves it.
Paul deserved it, but Paul, you're going to be up there. So good job, guys. Now, if you are these people, okay, we'll see you inside of the registration list, but please also, if you want your prize sooner so you can process it, send your victory to a screenshot to davidn@bluechipit.com.au. Okay, David N for November, David N@bluechipit.com.au. But thank you everyone so much for joining us today and, you know, learning a little bit about the whole XDR and MDR conversation. Thank you to Mr. Aaron Jacobs once again for being with us.
Thank you, everyone. No worries. Thank you. Amazing.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great one, and you'll receive your prizes soon, guys. All right, cheers. All right, see you later,
David.
guys. See you, bye.
Everyone.